Let me ask you something simple but important. Are you really living the way you want to live? Not the way others expect. Not the way you promised you would someday. But right now, in this chapter of your life. Welcome to Elderly Reflections, where every voice matters, and every story carries a truth that could change the way you live the years you have left. If you're over 60, or love someone who is, this message is for you. Before we go further, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share with me in the comments, where are you watching from? It's beautiful to see how far our reflections reach. Now back to that question. Are you living the way you want to? Because I've spent the last 2 years sitting with seniors across Europe and North America, listening to stories that aren't always easy to hear. They talked about regrets. The kind that visit at night when the world is quiet. The kind that don't go away with age. But here's the beautiful part, they also shared what they would have done differently. And for those of us who are still here, still breathing, still choosing, those lessons are everything. Let me tell you about Walter. He's 84. A former train conductor from Milwaukee. The kind of man who speaks with his hands, and carries decades of work in his voice. When I asked him what he'd do differently, he didn't even blink. I wish I'd talked less about work, he said. And more about my wife. He told me about Carol, his late wife. How she waited through long shifts. How she sat at dinner tables alone. How she died of cancer, and he realized too late that he had given his best years to a paycheck, not to her. I still have the money, he said, but she's gone. That's the first truth I've learned from men like Walter. After 60, connection matters more than accumulation. Your love. Your presence. That's what matters. Ask yourself, do the people I love feel it? Not do I love them, but do they know it? Feel it? Hear it? Because regret has a way of creeping in when you think you'll have more time. But most of the time, you won't. Now let me tell you about Martha. She's 78, used to be a dance teacher in New Jersey. Still graceful, still funny. She told me her biggest regret wasn't what she did. It was what she waited for. I kept waiting for permission to enjoy my life, she said. She waited for her husband to retire. For the kids to move out. For the perfect time. And now that she finally has the time? Her knees can't carry her up the stairs in Florence. I should have gone when my legs could still dance, she said. That's the second truth. Joy isn't selfish. It's fuel. You don't need a passport to feel alive. You need to say yes more. Yes to a walk in the sun. Yes to singing your favorite song out loud. Yes to dessert. Yes to small joys that feed your soul, not just your schedule. Martha said, I thought being a good wife and mother meant waiting. But sometimes, living well is the best gift you can give to those you love. Now let's talk about something that came up in nearly every conversation, especially among older men. I wish I had taken care of my body earlier. That's what James told me. He's 75 now. Retired firefighter. Big arms, big here, but pain in every joint. I used to laugh at yoga, he said. Now I give anything to tie my shoes without help. He didn't think stretching mattered. Said walking was enough. But the little things added up. And now, even getting out of bed is a chore. Here's the truth he left me with. Mobility is freedom. After 60, your independence doesn't disappear all at once. It fades. And by the time you notice, it's often too late to get it back. So if you're watching this and thinking, well, I'm still doing okay, start now. Stretch. Move. Walk. Lift something light. Keep your balance. Not to look young, but to stay free. Because nothing makes you feel older than depending on others to do what you once did without thinking. Now, let's shift to something quieter, but just as vital. Mental sharpness. I met Louise in Vermont. She's 82, and quick as a whip. I never let my brain get lazy. She told me. She reads every day. Talks to people with different opinions. Learns something new every week. She said something I won't forget. You don't grow old because your body ages. You grow old when your curiosity dies. You don't need college degrees or fancy programs. You just need to stay awake in your mind. Read. Learn. Speak. Ask questions. Write. Try something new. Play a puzzle. Switch your routine. Take a different road home. Louise told me, for years, I sat on the couch and let the television do the thinking. It dulled me. I didn't realize it until I stopped. So remember, your brain needs play, too. Now before we end, I want to bring up a final, powerful regret that came up again and again. I wish I had let go of my grudges earlier. Thomas from Toronto is 86. Hadn't spoken to his brother in 3 decades. Over what? I asked. He shrugged. We don't even remember. But neither of us wanted to be first to call. His brother passed last year. And now Thomas lives with a silence he can't fix. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's wisdom. And it's peace. Let go of the old bitterness. That family feud. That betrayal. That thing someone said years ago that still echoes inside you. It's not about forgetting. It's about not letting it steal your joy any longer. Call. Write. Or simply say to yourself, I'm done carrying this. You deserve to feel light again. Now, if you're still here, I want you to take a second. Look at your hands. They've built a life. Look in the mirror. That face has carried joy, pain, laughter, loss, and so much strength. You earned this age. Now live it well. Live it differently. Live it fully. And if any part of this video touched something inside you, like it, subscribe to Elderly Reflections, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And more importantly, what's one thing you'll do differently starting today? You're not too old. It's not too late. Your final chapters haven't been written yet. Let's write them well, together. There's something powerful about hearing the words. I wish I'd spoken by someone with silver hair and a life full of stories. It's not just about regret, it's about wisdom. It's about the things that matter most when the noise quiets down and all that's left is truth. I want to take you into the story of Eliza. 80. Born and raised in rural Pennsylvania. She spent her life raising 4 kids, keeping the house, and taking care of everyone but herself. When I met her, she was sitting outside her small home in a rocking chair, eyes fixed on the sunset. I asked her what she wished she'd done differently. She didn't even hesitate. I wish I hadn't put myself last for 60 years. Eliza said she used to skip doctor's appointments because her son needed new shoes. She'd eat leftovers, never the fresh plate. She'd tell herself her aches and pains were just part of aging. She ignored her own health until her knees gave out, her blood pressure shot up, and her energy drained to nothing. I was so busy being needed that I forgot I was allowed to need care too. That brings us to this: self-neglect isn't selflessness. It's slow damage. If you're over 60 and still carrying the idea that taking care of yourself is selfish, let this be your sign to stop. You have to be your own advocate. Go to that checkup. Get your hearing tested. Take the time to stretch, to eat right, to breathe. This isn't about vanity, it's about vitality. You matter. Your health matters. Because every year you stay strong, alert, and mobile is another year you get to make memories, tell stories, and leave behind more than regret. Now let's talk about something many seniors avoid. It's uncomfortable, but necessary. Money. I spoke with Roger, 77, from Oregon. He ran a small hardware store most of his life. Paid his bills. Took modest vacations. He said he did okay financially, but his biggest regret? I never talked to my kids about money. Roger's son made risky investments. His daughter got into debt. They never learned how to manage money because, as Roger put it, I thought it was rude to talk about it. He told me, if I'd sat them down and shared what I knew, maybe they wouldn't be struggling today. So here's the next lesson. Financial wisdom should be shared, not buried. If you've learned how to live on a budget, how to save, how to stretch a dollar, share it. You don't need a finance degree to pass down your knowledge. Tell your family what worked for you. Help them avoid the traps you've seen. Show them how to plan for their own later years, while they still have time. And if you're not confident with your own finances, it's never too late to learn. There are free resources at local libraries, senior centers, even YouTube, right here on Elderly Reflections, where you can find simple ways to track expenses, avoid scams, and make smarter choices. You've worked too hard to live the last years of your life stressed about money. Let's shift gears. We talked earlier about the physical and emotional toll of regret. But here's something not everyone talks about: spiritual exhaustion. No, I'm not talking about religion necessarily. I'm talking about the quiet ache inside when you don't know what your life meant. I met Carlos, a retired mechanic from Arizona. He's 79 now. Worked with his hands his whole life. Built engines. Fixed tractors. But when I asked him what gave him purpose now, he went silent. Honestly? He said, I don't know. Carlos said his work gave him identity. But once he stopped working, he didn't know what he stood for anymore. This shook me. Because it's so common. So here's the lesson. You are more than what you did for a living. Your purpose doesn't end with retirement. It changes shape. Maybe now it's mentoring a younger person. Sharing your story. Teaching your grandchild how to cook, fish, fix a car, or plant a garden. Purpose is not something big and flashy. It's found in being useful. In giving your time, your kindness, your attention. I asked Carlos what he used to love doing before work took over. He smiled and said, I used to write poems. I told him, start writing again. Your life still has chapters left. Give them meaning. Now, I want to pause here and ask you something. What did you used to love doing that you stopped? Maybe it was painting, singing, teaching, building things. Pick it back up. Even if you're rusty. Even if your hands shake. That brings us to Helen. She's 86. Lives alone in a small town in Scotland. Sharp, feisty, full of laughter. I asked her what kept her going. She leaned in and whispered, curiosity. Helen wakes up every morning and reads something new. She said, if I go a day without learning, I feel like I'm slipping away. She told me how she taught herself how to use a smartphone at 78. Joined a virtual book club during the pandemic. My friends said I was crazy, she laughed. But now they all want me to teach them. This is the next big truth. If you keep learning, you keep living. It doesn't matter how old you are. Your brain craves stimulation. Try something new this week. Watch a documentary. Ask your grandchild to teach you how to use an app. Learn to say one sentence in a new language. Not because you have to, but because you can. And when you do, something shifts. You start to feel more in control. More alive. Next, let's talk about forgiveness again. But this time, not forgiving others. Forgiving yourself. I met Samuel, age 80. Retired veteran. He looked like he carried the weight of 5 lifetimes. He said to me, I've made choices I'm not proud of. Hurt people. Wasted time. How do you live with that? And I said, you live with it the same way you lived through war. One moment at a time. By choosing to let go instead of holding on. Samuel broke down in tears. Here's the thing. You are not your worst moment. You've lived a long life. Mistakes were made. Words were said. Time was lost. But that's not all there is. That's not who you are. You're the sum of every time you got back up. Every time you helped someone. Every time you loved, even if imperfectly. If you can learn to forgive yourself, you unlock the door to peace. You can stop surviving and start being. And finally, let's talk about legacy. Not the kind you write on a will. The kind you write with your life. What do you want to be remembered for? That's what I asked every person I met. They didn't say money, or fame, or even success. They said love, wisdom, kindness. They said, I hope someone remembers how I made them feel. So ask yourself, if this year was your last, what would you do differently? Would you say I love you more? Would you start that journal? Would you stop holding grudges? Would you finally call that old friend? Because you can. Today. Right now. And that's what makes life beautiful. If you're still watching, thank you. I hope these stories sparked something in you. If they did, give this video a like, subscribe to Elderly Reflections, and drop a comment. Tell us where you're watching from, and what's one change you're inspired to make in your life today. Let me tell you about Grace. She's 89 now. Lives in a quiet retirement village in Montana. Her hands tremble a bit when she holds her teacup, but her voice is clear, calm, steady. When I asked her what the most important lesson of her life was, she smiled and said, to be present. Not just alive. Present. She said that if she could go back, she'd listen more when her husband spoke. She'd take more photos of her kids, not just birthdays, but the everyday moments. The messy ones. The ordinary ones. She said, I used to think life was made of big milestones. Turns out, it's made of Tuesday mornings and quiet dinners. So here's the next lesson. The present is where the meaning lives. We spend so much time thinking about what we should have done, or worrying about what's coming next, that we forget to actually live the day we're in. Being present means stopping for a second and truly noticing what's around you. The way the light hits your kitchen table. The sound of birds out the window. The way your dog looks at you. These are not small things. They are the everything. And you don't need perfect health, or lots of money, or some grand adventure to feel alive. You just need to slow down and see it. I met an old sailor named Hank. 92. Still wears his Navy hat every day. He said to me, I spent half my life chasing something that was already in my hands. He meant peace. He meant purpose. Sometimes, we keep chasing more. More validation. More stuff. More attention. But what if you already have enough? What if the peace you're looking for is found in acceptance, not in chasing? That's another lesson I heard over and over. Peace comes when you stop needing everything to make sense. You don't have to solve every problem. You don't have to understand why certain people hurt you. Or why you didn't get the life you thought you would. You just have to say, this is my story. And it still matters. Now I want to tell you about Robert. He's 81. Lives in Maine. Lost his wife 3 years ago. Still talks about her like she's in the room. He told me, I wish I'd said thank you more. She made my coffee every morning for 42 years. I barely noticed. Now I'd give anything for one more cup from her hands. Gratitude. That's a word we hear so often it starts to lose its meaning. But let me bring it back to life for you. Gratitude is not just a feeling. It's a practice. And after 65, it's not optional, it's essential. Because when your body slows down, when friends pass away, when memories fade, you need something to hold on to. Gratitude is that thing. It's what reminds you that, yes, there is still beauty. There is still warmth. There is still something to wake up for. Every day you breathe is a gift. Every step you can still take is a miracle. Robert told me he started keeping a small notebook. Each night, he writes 3 things he's grateful for. It changed my whole attitude. He said, "I don't feel bitter anymore. I feel blessed." You can try that too. It takes 2 minutes, but it can shift your entire mood. Now, let's talk about love. Not romantic love, though that's important too. But the kind of love that comes from kindness. From being a source of light in someone else's life. I met a woman named Bernice, age 76. She runs a small kindness group at her church. They write letters to people in nursing homes who don't have family. They bake muffins for neighbors. They visit seniors who feel forgotten. I asked her why she does it. She said, "Because it makes me feel human. Like I still have something to give." And you do have something to give. Your kindness. Your experience. Your stories. Your presence. We live in a world that moves fast. But seniors, you are the keepers of something precious. Wisdom. That's what Elderly Reflections is all about. Sharing that wisdom. Honoring it. So here's the truth. You are not a burden. You are a blessing. You are not in the way. You are the way. The living memory. The proof that life can be survived and still loved. And if the world forgets to remind you of that, let me remind you right now, you matter. Your story matters. Your presence matters. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be you. Fully. Honestly. And if you've made it this far in the video, maybe some part of you needed to hear that today. So let me leave you with this. Take a breath. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the person you used to be. 30 years ago. 50 years ago. Would that person be proud of how far you've come? Would they smile knowing you're still standing? Now imagine the person you still have time to become. Kind. Clear. Peaceful. Wise. That's not out of reach. It's right there. Waiting. So be bold. Be grateful. Forgive. Move. Laugh. Call someone you love. Write that poem. Walk to the park. Ask for help. Offer your heart. Because it's not too late. It never is. If you felt something while watching this, if a story touched you or a thought stayed with you, do me a favor. Click that like button. Subscribe to Elderly Reflections. And leave a comment below. Tell us, where are you watching from? And what's one thing you'll do differently, starting today? Let's keep learning. Let's keep reflecting. Let's keep living. Not just longer, but better. Here's to your journey. Here's to senior wisdom. Here's to you.